Hello, and welcome back to Gay by Gay. My name is Adam.
I'm JJ.
And today, we're going to talk about something that most gay people have in common, coming out. You came out when you were younger than I was.
Yes, the day before my high school prom. I remember it very vividly because I remember I was sitting down with my mother in the kitchen of my house, and I decided this was the moment in which I was going to tell her. It was sort of like when you have to puke and you just can't get it out. It's just because it's you're so aware that the consequence of saying these words will be so profound. And it was very difficult because, my mother was crying and she was sad, and we went on a drive. I remember me and my mother together, and we just cried a lot and talked a lot. I really didn't want my mother to tell my father, but she did, that day. And my father did not take it well at all, and he got very, very cross, and, there was lots of yelling. I love my parents very much, but I think that a reoccurring theme of their perspective of me is that I am very naive. The end of the story is basically just that my parents planted enough seeds of doubt in my mind, and that conversation with them and that whole day was essentially so traumatizing that I was willing to concede that maybe I didn't know what I was talking about. Maybe I don't know, what I am sexually, just in order to get peace in that moment.
You went back into the closet, essentially.
Basically,
And did you do it honestly, or did you do it just to appease them?
To the extent of which I had any legitimate feelings of self-doubt, those went away quite quickly.
You said you didn't actually identify that you were gay till you were in high school.
Yeah.
See, I think I identified I was gay when I was 8. I also grew up with 2 older sisters who were interested in guys. They had New Kids on the Block Ken dolls.
Yeah.
And you appreciated the male form. The last woman I dated was when I was 21.
Really? Wow.
That was unfair of me because I think I knew then, and that was more to keep up appearances. But I dated I dated a girl in high school that I was fell in love with. I told my mom first as well, impulsively, at lunch. There was no it was weird. It was out of the blue. I don't know. I don't even remember. It must have just been on my mind that week. She paid for lunch, stood up to leave, and I was like, wait, I need to. And as soon as I said that, I was like, well, now I need to either fabricate a crazy lie or come out. And I did, and we cried. And then she asked me if I could tell my dad because she didn't want to lie to him. So I took him out for lunch the next day. Both of their responses when I came out were that it wouldn't be their first choice for me, which I at the time took as well, it's not my choice. But then now in retrospect, I'm yeah, they had no perspective on it. I might have been the first gay person they knew.
I remember this was one of the first things that my mother asked me was if I was being safe.
That was it. I think their immediate impulse was they were worried about that lifestyle. And to be fair, I'm still worried about that lifestyle as I see it. We talk about, we feel on the periphery of what we see as the gay community, and what I see as the gay community in a lot of ways can be sexually promiscuous.
Yeah.
There's gonna be hateful comments for saying that, but it's the truth of the matter. If you look at statistics about new cases of HIV, why wouldn't they be scared?
They grew up, during the AIDS crisis,
exactly,
right? Both my parents knew or worked with gay men who ended up contracting AIDS and dying as well. That is sort of your dominant frame of reference for what the homosexual lifestyle is. I think it's natural to jump to that conclusion.
So what was your hesitation in coming out?
I never thought that my parents would stop loving me or cast me out of the house or anything like that. I guess I just knew that it would change our relationship fundamentally, permanently.
I feel the same way. I thought about this a lot recently because I don't think I was scared of backlash, but I think it was that I didn't want anything to change because I'm very close with my family. But I didn't identify with that community. What I knew of the gay community was queer as folk. I felt like by coming out, I was aligning myself with a group of people that I had nothing in common with.
The image of being gay in the mainstream media and in the popular culture and in politics and all the rest of it just seemed so alien and so foreign to my experiences, and not only my experiences, but my aspirations.
We've lived in the it gets better era of coming out. Has it gotten better?
I mean, this is the sort of the complicated sort of second half to my story, right? My mother learn from one of my friends that I was basically going around self-identifying as gay, which by that point I was. This was maybe like 5 years after my original coming out. She and my father confronted me about it, and then I basically said, yeah, I'm gay, and you know, it's not really my problem anymore, it's your problem, right? Like, I know what I am and you can accept that or not, but I'm not going to play the same game with you as I did the first time. And to this day, like, we don't really talk about it much. And I think that this is probably does not reflect well on me as a mature person. What about it with your parents? Like, is it something that you talk about? Like, are they like, oh, Adam?
It took a week for my dad for sure, and maybe my mom too, before we could really start to talk. And we didn't talk about it immediately, but I've never been closer with my dad, and I've never been closer with my sisters and my mom. There might have been something unspoken between us in the past that was preventing us from really getting close, where maybe they suspected it, or I knew I had this secret or whatever, and now it's just like, no, they fully know who I am. I really, quite literally have no secrets from my family, and that's this incredibly liberating thing. I don't think you're alone in your situation. I think there's a lot of gay men out there who that's just the relationship that they've kind of come to with their family. There's just that segment you just don't deal with, and you're fine with it.
I'm very close with my family. Like, we have a wonderful relationship, and I'm really grateful, and I love my parents very much. But yeah, because it almost all comes back to the first thing that you talked about earlier, where it's like, well, what was the apprehension about coming out? Mm-hmm. And it's like, the apprehension is that it would destabilize a relationship that I really enjoy the current dynamic of. And I guess, you know, now I'm 31, you know, I'm openly gay, you know, I date people both my parents know, and yet at some level I'm still like that 18-year-old kid that is fearful.
At some level, nothing has changed in that relationship for you. Whereas for me, everything has changed in those relationships. So in some ways, my greatest fear has come true, but it's been all for the better. So in retrospect, I wish I'd done it when I was 8. No, they would have been fine with it. We would have had more New Kids on the Block Ken dolls. I would have been in heaven.